Not very often I get to preach with a Bible in my hand. Watch out. Ooh. Well, happy Pentecost. Happy 50th day after Easter. And yes, today is the day we remember and give thanks and celebrate the gift of the Holy Spirit. The gift of the Holy Spirit. God's presence, God's love, God's breath in us and moving through us and among us. That's why we're here, because the Spirit touched us and has drawn us, and here we are. I was moved by that question that Philip asked in the Gospel this morning. He said, Lord, show us the Father and we will be satisfied. Show us the Father and we'll be satisfied. Nothing else is needed. I think that's a very reasonable question, don't you? Because I think that's why we're here this morning. Because I think all of us want to see the Father. All of us want to know God. All of us want to, in some way, know and feel God's presence. And Jesus said, Philip, my dear, have I been with you all this time and you still don't know me? I and the Father are one. My words are God's words. And you look at my face and you see the face of God. Well, that's all very well. Philip was lucky enough to be with Jesus, to see him, to touch him, and to hear him physically. You and I, and men and women and young people these last 2,000 years, what about us? What about us? We haven't seen Jesus face to face. Well, that's what today is all about, isn't it? Because Jesus knew. Jesus knew he had to leave. Not because he wanted to leave, but because while he was still a human being, he could only be in one place at one time. And Jesus wanted to be in every place and in every time. And so he had to leave. But he said, I'm not going to leave you alone. I will not leave you comfortless. The Father and I will send the promised gift, the Holy Spirit, my Spirit, to be with you now and until the end of the age. And I believe the reason why we are here this morning is because of that gift. That gift is real. That gift has sustained people like you and me all these long years and has drawn you and I into this fellowship today. So I'm a little jealous of Philip, and I'm also a little jealous of the apostles. And interestingly enough, so thinking about Pentecost and that wonderful story from Acts, and well done, Brenda. That must be one of the most difficult readings, I think, in the Bible. You know, Phrygians and Pamphylians and Cappadocians and all the rest of it. Elamites. Daunting, but you pulled it off beautifully. But that incredible story of the Spirit coming visibly, tangibly, physically on the apostles. And interestingly enough, as an aside, oftentimes in the Greek and Russian Orthodox tradition, the icons that are written of the Feast of Pentecost have two other people in them. It's usually 14. Mary, the mother of Jesus, and Mary Magdalene, first witness to the resurrection. Mary Magdalene especially is revered as an apostle in the Greek and Russian churches. We have a bit to learn in the West. But I don't know about you. Maybe you've been more fortunate than I, but I have never experienced that sort of Pentecost moment. The rushing wind and the tongues of flame. If only yet I have, and I know you have, experienced the Spirit of God. Gently, lovingly, persistently, showing up in all sorts of different ways. The fact that you're here this morning, as I said, is a sign of the Holy Spirit. The fact that you love and you receive love is a sign and a gift of the Holy Spirit. The fact that you wonder about your life. Who am I? And why am I here? And what is this all about? That's a gift of the Holy Spirit. Even the emptiness sometimes and the ache and longing for home, that is a gift of the Holy Spirit. The fact that over your lives you have had the courage to forgive and to receive forgiveness, that is a gift of the Holy Spirit. Whenever you're filled with compassion for somebody else or one of God's creatures, that is a gift of the Holy Spirit. Whenever you've acted out of generosity without expecting anything in return, that is a gift of the Holy Spirit. Even righteous outrage, when you see an injustice in the world and you are filled with this burning fire, that is a gift of the Holy Spirit. Tenderness, forbearance, that's hard sometimes, biting our lip instead of speaking. That is a gift of the Holy Spirit. Your desire to pray, your desire to be here, as we said this morning, all of these things are gifts of the Holy Spirit. Those happy coincidences that happen often, more often than we remember, those are gifts of the Holy Spirit. And those are all signs that Jesus' promise is true. That Jesus has not left us. That Jesus is with us. And that we have the power of the Spirit within us and among us and in the world around us. As I was driving in this morning, I was thinking, so much of my life is spent indoors. In my house, in my office, in my little tin box that I drive around town. Maybe if I spent more time outside, I would rediscover this sense of, and if you want to use a theological word, the sense of the numinous, the sense of God's presence, the sense of God's Spirit. Maybe if I lived in a tent, I'd have more of a sense of God's presence. So maybe for the rest of the day, it's a good discipline to do. Maybe for the rest of the day, maybe get a piece of paper, even a bulletin, and write down all of the Spirit moments you experience for the rest of the day. And then at the end of today, just look back. Love, compassion, forgiveness, tenderness, outrage even. The desire to pray, that desire of wonder, to look up at the sky and to give thanks. All of those things are Spirit moments. And God's gift to you. And Jesus' presence in you and around you. And so we say, Alleluia, Alleluia, and Amen. And Amen.